Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devin Saraswati Vyasa Tattva Jaya Madhurai Nasta Prayesu Abhadesu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati 90. So the class runs to 9 o'clock, 9:15? All right. But I'm free to stop at 9 o'clock. Is it? Shouldn't exceed 9:15, but I can stop at 9 o'clock. Okay. Understood. All right, so Srimad Bhagavatam. Can you move forward here, please? I thought we were in the family, purpose family, so I don't know. Yeah, move forward. You can move forward. At least you're male devotees, you can move forward. It doesn't matter. There's space here. It's called community of inquiry. It's in the Bhagavatam class, the community of inquiry, so there's no need for people to be, some people have to be in London, some people have to be in New York. Yeah. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 7. This chapter is titled Lord Krishna Instructs Uddhava. It is technically called Uddhava Gita. Instructions of Lord Krishna to Uddhava. Krishna is very much into preaching, instructing his friends. So here is this chapter basically is Krishna's teachings to Uddhava. That's a big voluminous book that has been written by one devotee, Ishwara. This is a compilation from the Srimad Bhagavatam on the instructions of Lord Krishna to Uddhava. Technically speaking, it's Uddhava Gita, because Gita means the song. Gita means song. Am I correct? All right, so text 11 of the 11 Canto, chapter 7, text 11. Dosa buddhyo bhayatito Nisedhamna nivhatate Guna buddhya chavihita Nakaroti yatabhaka Dosa buddhyo bhayatito Nisedhamna nivatate Guna buddhya chavihita Nakaroti yatabhakaha. Can someone try? Ladies? Any ladies to try? Okay, no ladies. Okay. Someone? Any more ladies? Okay. So, word for word translation, and then translation and purport, all by His Divine Grace, His Confound Acharya, Srila Bhakti Vasudev Swami Prabhupada Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, dosa buddhya, because of thinking that such action is wrong, ubhaya atitaha, one who has transcended both the conceptions of mundane right and wrong. Nisedat, from what is forbidden. Nanivatate, he does not desist. Guna buddhya, because of thinking it is good. Cha, also. Vihitam, what is enjoined. Na karoti, he does not do. Yata, just like. Arabakaha, a young child. So translation, one who has transcended material good and evil automatically acts in accordance with religious injunctions and avoids forbidden activities. The self-realized person does this spontaneously, like an innocent child, and not because he is thinking in terms of material good and evil. Please kindly responsibly repeat. One who has transcended material good and evil automatically acts in accordance with religious injunctions and avoids forbidden activities. The self-realized person does this spontaneously, like an innocent child, and not because he is thinking in terms of material good and evil. So let's listen to Srila Prabhupada's purport. One who has developed transcendental knowledge never acts whimsically. Srila Rupa Goswami describes two stages of devotional service, Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti is a stage of spontaneous love of Godhead, whereas Sadhana Bhakti means the conscientious practice of the regulative principles of devotional service. In most cases, one who is now enjoying transcendental consciousness has rigidly practiced the rules and regulations of devotional service. Thus, due to previous practice, one spontaneously avoids sinful life and acts in accordance with the standards of ordinary piety. This does not mean that a self-realized soul is consciously avoiding sin and pursuing piety. Rather, due to his self-realized nature, he spontaneously engages in the most exalted spiritual activities. Just as an innocent child may spontaneously exhibit good qualities such as kindness, tolerance, and so on. The spiritual platform is called Suddha Sattva, or purified goodness, to distinguish it from the material mode of goodness, which is always to some extent polluted by the lower modes of passion and ignorance. Thus, if a man in material goodness appears to be most pious in the eyes of the world, we can only imagine the spotless character of a self-realized soul in purified spiritual goodness. Therefore, it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto, 18th chapter, text 12, that Yasyasti Bhakti Bhagavati Akinchana Savai Gunas Tatta Samati Suraha Haro Abhaktasya Kut Bahanguna Mano Ratena Sati Davato Bahi. If one is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna, he will automatically exhibit all the exalted qualities of the demigods. Such manifestation of purity is spontaneous, as explained in this verse. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyana Jana Salakaya Saksur Meditam Jena Tasmai Se Guru Namaha. I was born in the darkest region of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nivishesa Sonya Vadi Pachatya Disatari Vanchakalpatari Vyacha Kripasunabhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavibhyo Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadara Rasivasali Sri Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this text is giving us some insight about the qualities of self-realized soul, or the lived experiences of self-realized souls. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna was explaining to Arjuna, because Arjuna asked Krishna some questions. So, this type of a person, how does it behave? What is its mode? How does it walk? Even walking, speaking. So, what are the characteristics of this person? Again, in Bhagavad Gita 5:18 to 21, it gives us some fundamental delineation on the lived experiences or the characteristics of a self-realized soul. And one of such basic foundation of information or spiritual information culture is that the self-realized soul is sthira buddhi, steadiness of mind. The mind in general is on the platform of sankalpa and vikalpa, accepting one thing now and rejecting that same thing the next moment. So what distinguishes the self-realized soul basically from the ordinary person is that they understand, I'm Brahmasmi, I'm not this body. I'm not this body. And so, based on that principle, that is even our primary, it's like a kindergarten information culture in spiritual life. The Prabhupada would always
mentioned in his classes, especially in the early days when he went to the West. You are not this body. You are not Americans. You are not Europeans. You are not Indians. You are not Africans. Why Prabhupada is emphasizing on this simple, kindergarten information in spiritual life? Why? Because it's so difficult to transcend misidentification with the body, which is the main factor that is incarcerating us in this material world for billions and billions of years. We'll find that even right here in India, although the caste system apparently does not exist in the Vaishnava culture, but it does exist. How is that? If a boy wants to marry, a girl wants to marry, the parents will figure out, is this boy from our caste? Or is this girl from our caste? Is he from our community? Is it not? Yeah. So those things are there. So it's so difficult to become extricated from the shackles of bodily misidentification. And that is the foundation of spiritual information that we are introduced to in the beginning. So it is there in the beginning, it's also there in the middle. We remind ourselves even in the middle of our spiritual development. And at the end, that is what we need to realize, that I am not this body. It is based on that primary information that when we cultivate sadhana bhakti, or even when we get to the stage of Rupanuga Bhakti, that we can see things clearly as they are. As soon as we misidentify with the body, there's trouble coming. There's trouble coming. So the self-realized soul does not see the difference between a Brahman, a dog, a cow, a dog eater. No, he doesn't see any difference. Why? Because he's seeing the super soul in each and every embodied entity. He does not see someone's body. Like, this is an old man, this is a beautiful girl. Yeah. And in India here, the culture is such that, all of you, the brahmacharis, you live in the temple by yourself. There are no women there living in the ashram. In other countries, we have women who are competing with the brahmacharis, living as brahmacharinis. And if you're the temple manager, you have to deal with all of that. Whatever they need, you have to deal with it. You can't say, no, come on. You don't have to tell me this. See, I'm a brahmachari. No, you are the manager, you have to deal with it. So that's the difference between devotional service and practice in India and outside of India. So in most countries outside of India, if you can survive as a manager, you can become a hero all over the world. Oh, yeah. So, the primary understanding is that Krishna is the foundation of our life. Krishna is the Pita, he is the mother. He is a friend of all living entities. So, in Sadhana Bhakti, we are made to understand that we need to inconvenience ourselves in pursuing spiritual realization. We may not like to wake up and come to Mangalarati at 5 o'clock. Here you have your Mangalarati at 5 o'clock because of circumstances. In most temples, you have a Mangalarati at 4:30. But You know what? The morning hours are the best times to, people enjoy sleep. Oh, yeah. The Brahma Muhurta hour, that is the best time that people enjoy sleep. But that is the time that the devotee practitioner is supposed to be up. So Lord Krishna mentions in the Gita, the time for awakening for the self-realized soul is time for resting, sleeping for the mundane roamer. And so, to come to the platform of self-realization is not a joke. It's not just like, eating sweet rice or gulab jamun. Anybody can eat sweet rice and gulab jamun and enjoy it. So here in the purport, Prabhupada mentions, the disciples of Prabhupada who presented this commentary, the whole of this commentary and translations were actually done by Prabhupada's disciples, 11 countries. So anyway, but they're still Prabhupada anyway. Whatever your child performs or does, the credit goes to you. Yeah. But at least we should recognize who does what, and the father also wants to see the credit being given to the son for doing something. Afterwards, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, you do it and have the credit. It's already done, but you go and execute it. So the father wants to see the child also have the credit. So yeah, the purpose, translation and purpose of this 11 canto, I think 10 canto, also the purports are given by a group of Prabhupada's disciples, headed by Hridayananda. So, the bottom line is that we have two parts, Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga, based on this purport. Raganuga is when the devotee performs their loving service to Krishna spontaneously. You don't need to tell them, hey, you have to go and, this is time for japa. You have to go to do japa. On Sadhana Bhakti, we are reminded constantly what we need to do. Because we have to practice. Sadhana means to practice. Devotional service and practice. And every professional has to engage in some practice under a higher or established professional in the field. So devotional service also, we have to practice how to serve Krishna in a loving way by the help of the spiritual master or his representatives. That's the whole idea about Sadhana Bhakti. So you are all living in the temple here, the brahmacharis, and you could choose not to live in the temple. Why live in the temple? Because you feel you want to be under the supervision of someone. Someone needs to oversee your daily activities for expedited spiritual perfection. You're in a house, you can wake up anytime you like. You don't need to come to Bangarati. If you like to come, okay. But what if you're living very far away, maybe 2 hours drive away? That's a good excuse not to come. But if you live in the temple, you don't have any excuses. So Sadhana Bhakti means we take up some inconvenience to speed up the process of our devotional development. Until we get to that spontaneous stage where we voluntarily, out of our own volition, we become enthused to do something. It gives us some inner joy. We want to think of several ways to be able to lovingly serve the Lord and his devotees. And so, it is important to evaluate how we are moving on in our sadhana bhakti We have to embark on self-assessment, the progress we are making. And then, through the self-assessment, we'll be able to figure out what areas that needs more improvement. All of our life basically needs improvement, but through a self-assessment, we have to figure out what areas that need more improvement, that is pressing on expedited improvement. And that facilitates our growth in devotional culture. Because without self-assessment, it becomes difficult, and at some point in time, we could become stagnated. And instead of finding fault with ourselves, we're finding fault with everyone around us. Because Bhakti Siddhanta mentions that instead of finding fault with everyone around us, we should find fault with ourselves. Because we do have many faults. And so, the self-realized soul does not see fault in someone else. All that is seen is the good in the people around. Because he has realized himself. Whereas the conditioned soul is on the platform of Bhadra Vastu Gyan Nahika Prakriti. You're seeing about this is good, this is bad, but how to relate to that? Bad for me, good for me. Why? Because we are misidentifying with the body. Second, we are on the platform of mental concoctions. Because the whole concept of this is good for me and this is bad for me is actually mental concoction. And it's not me saying it. This is what the Shastra says. Bhadra, Abhadra, this is Vasugyan. And it's based on misconception. So yeah, a spiritual life could be very juicy for the self-realized souls, but for the Sadhana Bhaktas, it's very bitter. And through practice, through spiritual practice, we understand that we cannot be multitasking in, for instance, when we are doing our japa. Someone asked me, a child asked me, 12 years old child asked me, in New York, talking about sadhana. People around you, they watch you. Even your child watches you. Because we are in the process of trying to become self-realized, so Krishna arranges so many people around us to watch us, without even we knowing. So even your own child could become like a monitor. So here a 12 years old child or so. At that time, I think it was 12 or 11 or so. I can't exactly remember. Young teenager. We are at New York Ratha, and his parents are my close friends. So I was walking to the side to be able to use the restroom, and he said, Maharaj, can I come with you? I said, yes, please, feel free. So we were going, and then he said, Maharaj, can I ask you a question? I said, of course, feel free to ask me a question. So he said, can someone be chanting japa and at the same time watching TV? I said, no, that's very wrong. You know what he said? Guess what he said? He said, but my parents do this all the time. So the sadhana that we are performing, people around us, they're watching us. Even our own kids, they're watching us. You may think, well, they're little kids, they don't know anything. Who said they don't know anything? So the part of self-realization is very dicey. And people people around us could help us. But some people, they are not very, they don't have the approach to helping us the way we expected. Some people could just come to point out our loopholes, and we'll be angry, isn't it? We'll be offended. Whereas some people, they will ask questions behind, like the little child. They will ask questions. They will observe some things and then ask questions behind from somebody. But they're asking on our behalf. They're asking because they observe us do certain things. And therefore, a Sadhana Bhakta should be open. We should have open book of objectivity. Because different approaches, people will use different approaches to be able to help us. Not necessarily the way we expect. Because expectations, when we don't meet our expectations, we could become angry. And therefore, I'm saying we should have open book of objectivity. We should be open to any type of route that people travel to be able to just come to our domain to help us to set things straight for our spiritual development. It is difficult. Why? Because we have misidentified with the body for so many billions of years. And the ego ticks all the time like a clock. The false ego ticks all the time like a clock. Because we are not yet self-realized. So the important factor is that for a self-realized person, Krishna is his watchword, or Krishna is her watchword. Whatever that is happening, they don't budge. Look at the case of Haridas. He was whipped to how many marketplaces? If someone whips us to one marketplace, if a group of people whip us to one marketplace, can we survive it? He was whipped to 22 marketplaces. That's a typical example of a self-realized soul. Typical example. If someone walks past and he steps on our toe, immediately we react. Haridas Thakur was whipped to 22 marketplaces. He did not react. Rather, he was not reactive. Rather, he was proactive. He was thinking of how to help the people who were whipping him. How is that? Because when the people who were whipping him were given an option that either whip Haridas to kill him or they will become victims of circumstance, Haridas had pity on them and just had to submit to death, in quote, so that the mission of those people will be accomplished. They can report to their boss that, yes, he's dead. We have done the job. We've finished him. And the boss will say, yes, 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 you're good boys. What do we learn from the case of Haridas? Our spiritual life is so juicy. It's so juicy. But we say, okay, that's Haridas. And we are living in these material bodies, we are living in this material world, and we are trying to perfect our existence, and we will not have challenges. Is that right? The challenges in the material world are just meant for Haridas, not you, not I. Is that correct? Is that the case? But we may say, no, we have to face the challenges. So for us to be able to exist or get to that platform, we have to become like small Haridas Thakur. New, small Haridas Thakur. Because even the mind and the senses, they are whipping up to several marketplaces. The mind and the senses, they are whipping us to several marketplaces, is it not? Yeah. And therefore, it is important to understand the stories we read, they are not just meant for repetition. Otherwise, we just become parrotologists. The parrot also repeats the parrot. You know parrot? You say something, the parrot will also repeat it. But what do we learn from these stories? So here is a typical case of Haridas. The episode of Haridas, where he was really heavily attacked because he was preaching. And so here is a self-realized soul who did not budge because of the attacks. And so we will also face some problems. We might not have soldiers coming to take us to marketplaces to whip us. But the soldiers within us, they are already doing that. The mind, the senses, they are already doing that. They are whipping us. So we have to remember the case of Haridas and become proactive. Because we are trying to get there, to that platform of the self-realized souls. It's not going to be easy. It's never been easy. And so, sattva, the mode of goodness, is what in general pious people are on the platform of sattva gun. But then there's a distinction between the platform that the self-realized soul operates on from the mundane sattva gun. And so, and the purport here is vividly given, Suddha sattva, purified goodness. So even in goodness, people are so much happy with their lives. What to speak of Suddha sattva? That Haridas Thakur was not even feeling the pains. Of course, we may say, oh, Lord Chaitanya was simply absorbing all of those beatings. Yes. But Lord Chaitanya can do that for anybody who is surrendered to him. So again, the burden of proof is on us. How we gradually come to that platform like a child. Like a child who does some things just spontaneously. A child gives something away. They are eating something very nice to them, but then someone they love comes. He says, give it to me. And then they give it away. Look at the child. Even grown-up people, they may love their children, but after using the things, in most cases, after using the things, the accessories, until they are tired, then they give it to their child. Typical example is cars. People buy new cars, they use until they are tired, then they give it to their wife. They use until they are tired, then they give it to their child. Is it not? I mean, he's going to buy a new car, they give it to somebody else. Is it not? This is what I've observed. So, the child is not like that. He just gives what he or she values most, the child gives it away to the person he loves. So the self-realized soul sacrifices their life. What is more valuable than life? Look at the case of Prabhupada. He sacrificed his life. At the time that he was supposed to just be in Vrindavan and, prepare for his final days, he had to execute the orders of his spiritual master, take a risk, sacrifice his life to go to the West, to cross the ocean, where he almost died. So spiritual life, to be self-realized, entails a lot of sacrifice. So, transcending the modes of material nature is not so easy, but it's possible through practice, through good association like you're having here. We have to travel all the way, for coming from America is like how many hours? And if you have to come straight, it's like you're completely fogged out. But see, you're born here in India, you're here, and you can just, set a date and go to Vrindavan, set a date and visit Mayapur, set a date and go to Jagannath Puri. Others have to travel for thousands and thousands of miles just see a great fortune. And this is just to be able to expedite your process of self-realization in this lifetime. So just see how blessed you are. So take advantage. Utility Prabhupada says is the principle. Any comments or questions? One who has transcended material good and evil automatically acts in accordance with religious injunctions and avoids forbidden activities. The self-realized person does this spontaneously, like an innocent child, and not because he is thinking in terms of material good and evil. Self-realized soul is not on the platform of Bhadra Bhadra Vastu Gya Nahika Prakriti. This is good, this is bad. Just spontaneously, they don't do the things that will hurt anybody. They don't hurt anybody. Yes, any comments or questions? We have about 5 minutes for questions or comments. So in the absence of any comments or questions, we'd like to end this session of our morning program. Srila Prabhupada ki